Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Catching Up With You. I am Amber, your awesome host and all-around amazing human being, and I am so excited about today's guest because Shonita Joshi is phenomenal. Okay, I can't stop singing her praises. She's amazing. She's gone and done Bollywood films. She's ready to take on Hollywood, and today she is here catching up with us. But of course, before we get into that, make sure you know what to do. Go to Pound Town on that like and subscribe button. And if you're feeling a little amorous, if you're feeling a little playful, go ahead and give that notification bell a little pickle tickle. And let's get on with the episode, shall we? And we are here. Woo! Hello. How have you been?
Good. This is a good year. So this is a great time to ask me how I've been. Normally I'd be like, I don't know.
But this is a good year. I'm glad. I'm very glad. That's fantastic. Can't stop singing your praises. I went down a little rabbit hole, getting to know Miss Shonita here. And so tell me more about your Bollywood adventures.
Ooh,
Please.
it was a wonderful time. Bollywood, the fun thing is a couple of projects that I did just paused and I never heard back when they were going to be released, what's going to happen. And then the last year and this year, I have a couple of friends who send a picture and they're like, is that you? Is that you? And I'm like, oh, I guess that one's finally out now.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's me.
It would have been great if it came out when it was supposed to 6 years ago to get more work,
Yeah.
But that's the story. But Bollywood is so much fun. It's so different from things in the US. It's a lot more dramatic.
Yeah.
When we were at Stella Adler, the teachers would tell me, great, but tone it down.
It's like, I guess, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, we don't need your subtlety, America. Get out of here.
I know. I'm in entertainment business. It's not subtle.
Right? That's awesome. That's amazing. I did not know that when we were at Stella. And then actually Essay told me, and I was like, say what? So I had to go do my own little search, and I saw a few of your commercials. I was just like, I was blown away. I'm just like, why is she here with us peasants? Like, why did you even come here?
Because I am a peasant too. I really am, for real. So Stella Adler was like, what do you do? Because before that, I didn't have any training. So I was doing everything just on the fly. Like, okay, the director said this, and I love doing this, and let's just do this. But now with school and some work, it's like, okay, I have a way in which I want to do it. And I was able to think about what I'm doing. So
got it.
Yeah.
So schooling was helpful in that sense of just giving you words to just express the things that you were more or less already doing. And when you're having conversations with directors and writers, it's like you can articulate that character more and be like, yeah, no, I like this because I found this when I was reading about them, or that thing. And I
think schooling is just more immersive. You're just surrounded by it. So you're seeing other people do their work and you're like, oh, wow, this is what I want to pick. This is what I want to do. You're able to network with people and then go on their podcast eventually. They're doing a billion things and doing amazing. And schooling helps with that. And just being immersed with it. The conversations are all about theater or acting and about the work. So that is just very rich ground for exploring the art. Yeah.
Nice. That's fun. So I love that. I do. But I also this is going to sound terrible. I love hanging out with actors, and I also hate hanging out with actors. Like, it's like, it's great because you have that connection there. You're all there, for more or less the same reasons. You want to learn, and you want to just like deep dive into it. And sometimes you can just go on these tangents for hours, but sometimes I'm like, okay, I just want to like, nah, just.
But is it actors or is just people in general? Because I feel that about so many different groups of people. Like,
Everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, but I think we as actors have a knack for showmanship that other people don't have.
Yeah. I mean, it's a self-absorbed profession. Like, you're the product. So I think just the fact that you have to promote yourself, you have to work on yourself, you have to watch yourself, you have to everything is an image and a projection of what you want the world to see rather than who you really are. So I think everything is so sometimes inauthentic and very purposeful, so it's understandable.
So what do you do when you're kind of just like a little burned out of the theater scene and you just want to go relax and kind of reground yourself? What's like something that you can go and do?
So the fun thing is that the people that I've met in theater are a little different from film and TV. And I think that community is much more grounded and dealing with like the day-to-day life of a struggling actor.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
So they're also more a lot of them, at least the ones that I've known and become friends with, are activists in their own work, which to me is so enriching. And it's like that keeps me going because most of the time during the year, even though there are some projects in between, there's nothing to do. You don't know when the next project's coming. You don't know if there's money coming in. Are you traveling somewhere for work or not? And so there has to be more of a purpose than just acting and performing. It's all the hyphens that you're doing, writing, producing, directing, podcasts. For me, it's a lot of social service activities or social justice causes, and that's I'm very interested in politics. So all of those groups and circles and friends are like helpful. What I do is I actually really do engage in a lot of politics.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a way of calming down, but that's a very good way of not thinking about all the stuff that comes with acting, which is the insecurity and the rejections. The
consistent rejections of that life.
I mean, just for example, rejection. Recently there was Life of Pi audition, and I was so happy. I auditioned. The way they're doing Life of Pi now is that Pi is going to be played by a woman and a man, and they'll alternate every night. And they become brothers and sisters, like they're brother and sister in the show, and then they alternate.
Yeah.
So exciting. And I auditioned for it, sent in my self-tape. I was called in. I did another round. I was called in a second time. I did another round. And a couple of things. One is, even though you do several rounds of audition, when they reject you, there's no email. There's no thank you, we went with somebody else. So you're just like waking up every morning and checking, did I get an email about it? And I know every actor or every other person on the theater will say, don't get stuck ever in that audition love. And after maybe a week and a half later, I met one of my friends and she's like, oh yeah, I got the project. It was done a long time ago. And I was like, I'm happy for you. This is so painful. And now Life of Pi is going on Broadway. They opened it in Massachusetts, Boston, and now it's on Broadway. And you see posters everywhere, and you see it on social media, and they're like, the biggest South Asian cast to hit New York City. And you're like, yeah. And it's so depressing. It's so depressing and it's so upsetting. And then you have all the causes that you do work for, or the people who really grounded. You're like, oh my God, perspective. This is going to be my story 100 times with 100 projects. And then going back to working on all the things I do work for is so helpful. Oh my God. So
well, that's good. That's good. Because, like, oh gosh, yeah, that, ugh, ugh, just, ouch. Hello.
one of the people in Cincinnati, one of the actors, she told me this, and I think it's so incredible. She said, cheer for everybody.
Yeah. Oh,
There's
yeah.
anything you can do, cheer for everybody because it's their turn and your turn will come. And she's like, this is such a lonely journey that when you cheer for everybody, it makes you happy, one, or you're forced to get out of your own sadness and self-absorption. But then when it's your turn and you are successful, everybody comes back to cheer for you. And all of this makes sense if you have people to do this with. There's
Yes.
no point when you're successful and you have nobody.
Yeah.
To share that with.
Right, for sure. It's an interesting theme that I've seen kind of run through is, yes, acting is, it can be a very singular journey because everybody hits different, everybody hits at different times, everybody's, fluke moment is just, it's different. There is no one way to be an actor, there's no one way to be successful. So in that way it does have like a very singular lonely road, but also there's just so much community if you let it in, if you open yourself up to that and have just that grace and kindness to know, like, okay, yep, they got the part there, I really wanted it, but that's okay, they're amazing and I look forward to seeing them in it. Yeah, I think you have to have not only a thick skin, but just lead with kindness and positivity. Because if you don't, like, this place, it'll just eat you up and spit you out with that. So whoever told you that in Cincinnati was absolutely correct.
Dale Hodges, shout out.
It's like, what? Yes. No, that makes a lot of sense. So so are you living in Cincinnati right now? I know you've been doing a crazy amount of work there, but like where do you still kind of call home here?
Brooklyn. I'm in
You
Brooklyn.
still?
Yes. So this apartment I got 4 months ago, and this is my first week in it.
Oh, wow.
I'm still discovering how the light works. I'm like, oh my God, wow, how does this place work?
What is going on in here?
Yeah. I said, what? All kinds of things. But I got very lucky with the Cincinnati community. Cincinnati is an amazing place for theater. I had no idea. They have lots of theater. They have lots of focus on art. And it's helpful to have those credits on your resume. I was able to join Equity because of it, because it required an equity contract.
Yeah.
And I am going back in April for a world premiere comedy called The Origin Story, which will be at the Playhouse. And what I've realized again is people hire you once they know you. So it's not just about talent. It's not just about fitting the part. It's sometimes people just want to work with people they know or they see.
Yeah.
And just work and working with people has led to more work and led to more work. So I've just found that community in Cincinnati, and I need to see how to do that in New York, build a stronger community.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Cincinnati's fantastic, especially in regional theater. And I think, and this is just my own personal opinion, but I think with that, it'll be a great way to kind of step in and find that community in New York. So you got into a fantastic place to keep being able to work and keep those skills sharp, because it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time.
I remember Mike Grennan at Stella when I was considering whether to take the internship at the Playhouse in Cincinnati. And I asked him, I was like, should I just stay in New York and, work on building it, or should I go to Cincinnati? But then I leave New York. And he just said, it is close to impossible to walk into New York and just make it. New
Yeah.
York, it's the mecca. It's very hard. You'd rather go out. You
Mhm.
work in regional theater. You know what work is about. You do film and TV, and then make your way back into these bigger cities with all the casting directors and all that you've now got to know, because they're the same ones who cast regional and New York. So
I mean, you
you
just
must.
gems everywhere. Just just nuggets of just wisdom, just dropping everywhere.
But exactly what you said, Amber. It's every person's journey is so different. It's crazy who you meet and how they pick something up and they're like, "Hey, you want to join me in this?" And you're like, "Okay." And one day you wake up and you're like, "I have no work. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm in this." And then suddenly you're like, "Oh, wow, 3 projects. Okay, great." Like it's nuts.
It,
There's no one way or like just a definite way. It's
yeah, it's I was having a conversation with a friend earlier, and it's just like you what was the saying? Find your fluke and let your freak flag fly. I got it, yes. But but yeah, it's just, finding your fluke, and like, yeah, you can't mimic someone else's journey. It's whatever worked for them. That was a very specific set of circumstances that just happened to all come together at the right time in the right place for them. That does not mean it's going to work for even one other person, let alone 50 other people. So it's like, you know, you just got to find your fluke, and like, it's, yeah. And I mean, like, to me it's crazy because like you were doing these films, and that should have been the trajectory right there, but then it's like, well, they didn't come out for like 6 whole years, so now I gotta go find some other things to do until that thing comes. And it's like, it's on my resume, but you can't see it yet because it's
yeah.
it's
I
not
mean, you
there.
can't even put it on your resume a lot of the times till it
Oh,
doesn't come
really?
out because it's still under wraps.
Oh, wow.
Per your contract, it is sort of a non-disclosure. I mean, I
Dang.
wonder if they even check because it's like, hey, if you're shelved, then what's the problem?
It's like, so I was in this project, but like,
Yeah, but they run out of money, so
yeah,
hey.
it's like, but it would have been amazing.
Yeah.
It would have been great. So is that the process, like, obviously, because you're signing an NDA and everything, you don't add a project on until it's like officially out and you can finally talk about it?
I mean, it depends on the contract, but most of them have that non-disclosure, not to put it on social media, not to
Yeah.
talk about it till they release it. And
Right.
then, so I don't know how strict they're about it. I've never tested it.
And
I've heard,
don't.
yeah, I've heard of a lot of horror stories where actors have just like leaked information and people have been very upset
Yeah.
about it.
It's like, don't even play with it. Don't try it. Don't, it's always better to just err on the side of caution
And
and
it's
just,
crazy how bad news or like terrible stuff spreads so quickly.
yeah.
In the community, and all the good stuff you do is like, hey, does anybody know?
Like,
Yeah. I
I
mean, it's
got
also like the other more philosophical question is, what does success mean, right? Like, do you have to do 8 shows to tell somebody you're an actor? Do you have to have a book published to say you're a writer? I mean, yes, some of it is true, but I think I very quickly I learned that what am I trying to be when I'm an actor? Am I trying to be the next Meryl Streep? Am I trying to be I don't know, whoever the next famous person is? No, like
Yeah.
that's a crazy journey, and that is sort of a lottery system.
Yeah.
That's really a lottery. But I'm just trying to sustain my life, being able to afford the things I want to have while performing.
Yeah.
The goal is as simple as that, and so it makes it a lot less oh my God, when's my turn? It's not that. It's like, hey, I'm just finding out a way in which I can sustain my livelihood, do the things I love, help the causes I want to help, and just live and die.
Living there, while I'm doing the living, do a lot of living. But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, you know, fame is a weird term, because I think everybody sees it differently. Some people want to be like the George Clooney's of the world, and but I get you. They're just wanting to just this be the thing that allows me to live.
Yeah. And there are millions and millions of artists who live that way. And
Yeah.
we never hear their story. And anybody outside of the industry, like one of my family members for my birthday gave me a little Oscar and said, for when the real Oscar comes. And in my head, it was very sweet, but in my head, I thought, do you understand what that means to get an Oscar? It's so much work. It's just such few people ever get to that. And even in that, it's a lot of promotion. Like Oscar is not just talent and you got it. They go to a lot of festivals to promote their film, to get the votes for it. It's a political campaign at the end of the day. And to people outside the industry, that is when you're successful. Or when they ask me, they're like, when are you going to be on TV? Or when is your next show? And it's like, you know what? I cannot tell you so many little successes I have. I met my husband because of this profession. I have a community and a family in America, in a country that I wasn't born and raised, because of this profession. I get to work and get a salary that allows me to pay my rent and travel. Huge successes. Like, so that little Oscar is how people perceive our final, like, now you've made it as an actor.
Yeah.
It's like, I cannot tell you the millions and billions of artists who don't reach that level, but they're very successful.
Absolutely.
Very successful artists.
Like, I would 100% call you successful. Like, to me, you're making a living doing the thing you love, and you are sustaining that. That is like, that's butter right there. That's amazing. And you made a very valid point. Is like this idea of like how awards are won or things like that in our profession. It's like there's so much in the likability and the sellability of someone. Like, how can we capitalize off of this person? Like, how do we make as much money off of this person? Are they marketable? Can we like take this and like we give them the Oscar, and how many years can we like make money off of them and milk that for all that's worth? And like especially as like brown and black actors, it's like 10 times harder because you have to be relatable to the masses. And it's like, what does that even mean for us, and it is.
And even now, so many black and brown audience members can't afford the theater.
Yeah.
So they're not even coming to the theater to see things like with a Broadway ticket. And all of, especially after the whole George Floyd video and all of that, there was this, every theater, everybody is putting out statements of diversity and inclusion, and this is our work for the community. And then you get a lot of the diversity hires, and you're like, great, okay, I will be there. And you're telling the same stories. You're telling the stories that are not yours. I was asked to once play a small part, Glass Menagerie, Laura. And I'm just like, this is an American white story that no matter what I do, I'm not Laura from the Glass Menagerie. And why am I telling you this story when it's been done to death? And I don't know what they're the classics and they're great, it's wonderful. But so it's like, there's a lot of work to be done.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. it's you know, it's one of those things where I look forward to no longer having these excitable moments about firsts, you know, first, you know, East Asian to win an Oscar for this, first
Yeah.
African American to win an Oscar for that, you know, first director, you know, it's like, can
Actually,
like,
sometimes I feel it's more dangerous, all those firsts,
yeah,
because you think or you're made to believe that the door has therefore opened.
yeah,
And so we all take a step back and we're like, now that the first Black person, South Asian, East Asian has won, that means there's more possibility for me now. And no, it's not. In fact, if
yeah,
and then we take a step back and we're like, okay, now I can relax because this is possible now. And you quickly realize that that was the one off. That was the diversity higher, and it worked out, and that's great. And the door shut as
yeah,
quickly as possible. I mean, it's what I mean to say is it's a constant work in progress.
yeah,
You take your eyes off the ball even for a minute and don't hold theaters or in anything,
yeah,
politics, everything accountable. Yeah, a Trump happens after Obama. So
yeah,
you think the first Black president came into power, and you're like, okay, we're going to have an amazing time for Black people. And the worst times come up. 2022 was the highest amount of police brutality cases against Black people, especially, and people of color.
mm-hmm.
So that one opening that makes us all take our eyes off and say, okay, it's going to be better. I mean, it's important to celebrate the successes.
Yeah, but you got to keep pushing that forward. You can't let it, you know, it's Sisyphus, you know, rolling that boulder up the hill, and then you take your eyes off for 1 second and it's just all the way back down.
Yeah, it's like 10 steps back.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no. I never thought about it that way. That makes sense. Cuz like, yeah, I mean, like the award season now, you know, Everything Everywhere All at Once is killing it, you know. And I love that movie.
I love it too.
I love that movie. So, I am not coming against that movie. That movie, everybody should be loving that movie. But
Yeah.
like you have movies like The Woman King and Till and like nothing. Like not one Oscar nomination for anything, and I'm like, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, and I think, there are so many people who are like, oh my God, we can't keep complaining and it's not possible to do it. But it's only because people in the past have complained, have pushed, have done it, that we have everything everywhere all at once
Yeah,
possible.
yeah.
So even if in the middle in 2020, what was that movie? The, Scarlet. There will be tomorrow, about the plantations in the South. I'll, it'll come back to me. Scarlett O'Hara.
Oh, Gone with the Wind?
Thank you.
Oh, I was like,
Gone from my brain. Gone
yeah,
with the
no.
Wind. And you know that whole 2020 thing about, should we have this movie? Should we not have the movie? And I had a lot of friends who were just like, we can't keep banning things and we can't keep not having things, even though it is about the plantation and Black people were not treated well. It's not a true representation. All of that, and I agree that censorship and banning is never a good answer.
Yeah.
But those conversations are holding people accountable even for the past act. It's so important that we have a conversation, and that voices are now being heard saying, no, this is a problem. This is not
Yeah.
an actual representation. Also, when Manny, the actor who played Manny, won the Oscar, there was a separate section for Black people to sit at the
Yep.
very back. Like, how much of this do we know when we talk about it as a classic? And yes, it was a product of its time, but we need to know everything to know where we are now.
Oh, yeah.
How much people have fought to make that possible.
Yeah, I don't think people talk about that enough. Like Dorothy Dandridge had an entire pool emptied and scrubbed because she dipped her toe in it. You know? And it, like, nobody thinks about that. Like Hattie McDaniel, yeah, she was like, they fought to have her be allowed to come through the front doors. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you won an Oscar, but you got to go through the back. You can't come on stage to accept it. Like, you know, like what is. So yes, I definitely agree. Like, I don't believe in like banning, you know, past books or past work, but I think the conversation around them should be more full, and we should be able to have these conversations. And I think, you know, it goes back to that thing, like, you know, people are tired of talking about it, they get fatigued, and it's like, try living it for once.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it is exhausting. You're absolutely right, it is exhausting. It's so exhausting that there are days that I check out because I'm tired, and I can't really fully check out because it's always there.
Right.
But, you know, every time I step out of my house, it's there. I am that. And so you get tired of hearing about it. Yeah, no. Wake up every day with it just plastered on your face. You can't hide it. You can't, you know, make it go away. It's right there. So,
yeah.
But
and so many of my white friends, and now that I'm married into a white family, I see examples of it more, are just so afraid of offending.
Yeah.
They're just so afraid. And I think that's why they also like step back and have these conversations, which are much worse. But I think there's no way to learn without offending. Sometimes. Yeah. I mean, you have to make a mistake. It's okay to be offensive if at the end of the day you're able to apologize and learn from it.
Yeah.
I think even as a brown person, I have more privilege, much more privilege than a white person.
Yeah.
As a South Asian, even though I'm not white, and I am, you know, not. There's a lot of my community has, we're looked at as people who are educated, who know math, who are doctors, who are engineers. So we have a leg up.
Yeah.
And we often, therefore, try to fit in the world of the white America, because it's like we're all fighting, right? We're all fighting for pole and power, and we look down upon everybody below us.
Oh yeah.
This is a big problem that, as a South Asian, I've sort of started witnessing in my circle, and my own biases too, which I mean, have to be called out and checked every now and then. But I think we play a bigger role in understanding that we have more privilege, and how do we help?
Yeah, that's an interesting conversation, because I feel like, well, not to get like too deep in the weeds, but basically, like, you know, whiteness, not necessarily white people, but whiteness is like the be all and end all in this country. And the closer you are to whiteness, the better off your life will be, you know? And so, in order to achieve whiteness, there has to be something at the bottom of this that is the antithesis, you know? And so, you know, what do we put there? And, you know, it's Black people. And so even if you're not here, as long as you're not here, it's not that bad for you, you know? And so, and of course, through different privileges and whatnot, that, you know, that's the closer you get to whiteness. But yeah, it's an idiotic system. It's a terrible system, but it keeps everybody who is under whiteness fighting enough for the crumbs, even though there's plenty for everyone, to where like this becomes always that unattainable thing that everybody down here is fighting for. And it's like, if everybody down here just stopped for a second and was like, you know what? We don't need that. we're good with what,
Yeah.
this would absolutely crumble. But
Because
I
it's
mean,
good on top.
yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, but the idea is like, no, there's not enough pie for everyone. There aren't enough slices. There aren't enough. So you guys have to figure out. But I'm just telling you, those people over there, they're taking your slice. And it's like, what slice?
Yeah.
Tell me where the slice is. You got all the slices, bro. Like, what slice?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, okay, I guess, whatever. But yeah, no, there's definitely, it's a hard, I think that is twofold, as somebody who wants to be a creative, and they tell you that the majority of people who consume this media are white individuals, which is wholly untrue. But then also it's like, so it's like, I mean, I'm gonna be black on whatever screen you put me on or whatever play. I'm sorry, that's just who I am. But I mean, I suffer from anxiety too. I got depression. I have moments of just like, where is my life going consistently? Sometimes it hits a little harder because like racism is abundant in a lot of places, but it's like, I think we can all relate on those things. Like those of us who identify as women who are attracted to those who identify as men, we understand that whole dating situation. Like, I don't care who you are, what it's like. So, I try to not let that get me down too much. And my form of resistance is to just keep going.
I mean, like you said, it's exhausting, but I love that you said it's system. Like, I think that's important to say every now and then, because people get caught in the individual stuff, and individually, I think people can be and are wonderful. On a one-on-one basis, a lot of times it's like, wow, we relate on a lot of different things, but nobody escapes a system. Nobody. Even people who are white are paying the price for a lot of what is part of the system and the culture of things, So, yeah, a lot of work. But it helps all those days when I don't have a job. And I'm like, now what do I do? Okay.
Yeah. Like, well,
yeah.
But no, it's still like, it's the thing that just gives me life, puts air in my lungs, and I have to do it. So, system be damned, I'm gonna be out there.
Yeah, and you're gonna open the way for so many people after.
And yeah, as I'm a big believer in sending the ladder back down, but not only sending it down, but reinforcing said ladder. So like, my ladder might have been a little creaky, might have had missing some pegs in there and whatnot. But you know what? I'm going to fix it up and I'm going to send it back down. And now that ladder is going to be made of steel. And so that the next person that gets to climb up there has a much easier time. And who knows, maybe they'll send it down and it'll just be an electric seat or something. And they can just ride it on up. I don't know. But yeah, sending it back down and reinforcing it.
That's really well put. I like that.
Yeah. That's my thing. I'm coining that right now.
Patented by Amber. Any ladder references?
All ladder references when it comes to reinforcing. That's me. I did it. Yeah. One of the reasons I started this podcast was just to highlight people wherever they were in their creative journeys, and highlight them as a person too, because as you said, like you're obviously doing that consistent work with the theater, and you're also doing a lot of political work and doing that. How do you balance that kind of that work life, because you're also now married, and how do those two things balance each other out, or have you found the secret yet?
Well, I got really lucky, and I married somebody who is in this profession, film and TV production.
Yeah.
So he he understands this world, and he's incredibly passionate about politics. So having similar interests is very helpful. And at the same time, he's sort of my director, my script reader, my light. Like before this podcast, I didn't know what to do with the light. I'm such a spoiled actor. I'm like, fix my light. And he came and did something. And the first time I got my job, I was so happy. I was working every day. I was going to the theater in the evenings, performing the show, meeting audience members who always have, either a compliment or a feedback about how to perform. Because I asked for a feedback, right? I'm standing here on my way back home asking for feedback.
Yes, that's how it works. What?
Yeah. So you, after all of that, you're right on this energy, and then you come home and you're like, okay, what do I do? And then there's nothing to do, and then you wake up and do it again, and then it's a little less exciting. And by the time you're doing like your 35th show, you're just like, it's not fun. I thought this was fun. I'm ready for the next project. I'm ready to say goodbye. And all of this gets, or at least for me, got more exciting when I had somebody to come back home to and discuss it, enjoy it, talk about what's happening. So that, more than balancing, I think it's added another energy to my ability to sustain this career. Like the balancing is not as difficult for me as much as it's about the second force who's like joined in. And it's like, oh, okay, this is more fun because I can come back and complain about that audience member who almost heckled me in the middle of my movie, or like coughed so loud. There was one scene where this man just went like, this was such an emotional scene in Queen. The show was called Queen, where you find out that this professor's a jerk, and you're like, how could you do this to me? And there's a pause, and this guy goes, ha-cha! And you're like, just like, don't laugh. You're sad. Don't laugh. And you're just like, and you can look at your co-actor, and they want to laugh too, and they're just like, and you both share this like, we're gonna get through this, right? And then we can. But all of that is so fun and great because you can come back home and go, today, I cannot tell you what just happened. And all of it is just more fun with someone to do it with. Yeah.
That's fair. And one thing that's not really talked about a lot is like for women who are performers who have a partner, a lot of times like men will be like, oh, I have this very supportive wife and she's so kind and lovely and she's there and da-da-da-da. But I don't hear enough women talking about, oh, my partner is incredibly supportive and they got my back and it's this. So it's really beautiful to hear that. I know even when we were in school talking to some of our male counterparts, the language around finding a partner was very different for them versus like, for me, and you, I imagine it's just, they're like, yeah, I need somebody to be there and take care of this and that and da-da-da-da and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, I don't want another actor for a wife or girlfriend. And I'm like,
that's so interesting because my husband said, and he said, even though he's in film and TV production, he and his friends always said they will never get an actor wife. Like their wife should not be an actor.
Ha! Joke's on him.
And he's right. And I am converting this family into giving them more culture and more spice. And I'm just doing God's work, one family, one person at a time.
Yes. Doing the work, girl. You are doing the work.
Yeah. That's crazy, right? That you can be in this profession and you can say something like, I don't want my wife to be an actor.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah. I'm just like, why not though?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because it sounds like you have some insecurities that you need to work on. That's what that sounds like to
Mm-hmm.
me. But okay. Okay.
Actually, honestly, something that saved us is both of us used to go to therapy before we met, and we continued going to our therapist. And I think that's saved everything because we have a fight, we take it to therapy, come back and go like, fine.
It's
I have
like,
some problems. I'll tell you about my insecurity, fine. But you still suck. But
it's like
yeah, yeah,
stupid they were so fed that you were right, I guess, or whatever. Duh.
it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy to be like. I think one of the big differences between my previous relationship and this is just how much I've grown, like, and how much I'm able to like say, okay, I'm sorry, or like, I see your point, or no, that's a problem, and we call it out and say, no, that's you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's good. Yeah. Like you should those are things you should be able to do. So it's good that you have that space to do that and just express yourself creatively and not feel hindered but empowered by that relationship to go out there and just go for it.
yeah,
Find your fluke as it were.
and fly my freak flag.
Yes. Yes.
I got it.
Like, yes. Like, seriously, we were trying to say that the other day, and I was like, ain't gonna happen. Nope. Right. Gonna have to work on those articulators a little bit more before I try to get that one out. It's like, not gonna happen right now. It's just not.
Amber, weren't you picked in the showcase at the end of the year?
Yeah.
See, you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I was picked in the showcase, and then COVID happened, and then like
I know.
life was just like it was like criminy. So how did I mean we're in this late I call it the late stage panorama because I refuse to say post COVID because to me post means it's done, it's gone, and it ain't gone nowhere. So in this as you know we're entering the late stages, like how was that for you as an actor? Because I don't know if you did you come here specifically for Stella or were you already here and then like were you able to work because there's a difference with different visa statuses if you come for school then you can't work and yeah
I came just to study and I thought I'll go back and I'll improve upon the craft because I'd built a network in Mumbai. And I knew a lot of these commercial directors, and India is a lot more unorganized. So you don't have agents applying for you or something. You literally stand in line outside casting offices, and it can go around the block. There are at least 120 people auditioning every hour.
wow
So it's like I felt like I just started building the movie directors I knew, or like casting offices I knew, and I just thought I'll come here for 3 months, summer course at Stella Adler, improve my craft, go back. I enjoyed the summer 3 months so much, and Mike said, hey, you should think about the 2-year program. You're on a journey to improving, but there's a lot more work. Thanks, Mike. Fine. And so I came back here, and again, I decided to go back. I wasn't going to stay in the U.S. And after studying in a school in the U.S., you get something called as OPT, which is optional professional training. So you have 9 months a year to work in that profession before you have to go back home. And in that 9 months, then you can get an O1 visa, all the different kind of things. So I got the internship at the Playhouse through Stella Adler, and I happened to meet Kenny, my husband, and COVID happened. Everything shut down. The embassy shut down. I just started applying for my O1 visa, which I was about to get, and they shut it. They shut everything. And I didn't want to go back home because I really, really thought that he and I had potential. And So we just got married in 2020.
Whew.
And now US has become home, which I never thought it would be. So I'm in the early stages of rebuilding the world that I knew here, while also traveling back and forth. So every time I know that there's an Amazon series in which I can do a small part, and this person I worked with in the past, I just go back. I'm able to do that, come back here, which is a luxury. But
Yeah.
so that's so US was never supposed to be home for me. It was supposed to be a temporary stop thing, and I love it now.
And look
really
at
do.
you now.
I mean, that's why I've really, I cannot say never. Every time I've said that's never going to happen, it's really happened. It's nuts. So in fact, if I want something to happen, I have to just go like, no.
Yeah, it's never. I'm never gonna win an Oscar.
Never. Never. Yeah.
Never gonna win that Oscar. Never gonna be an EGOT.
Yeah.
Never gonna meet Jason Sudeikis and fall madly in love. Just putting it out there. I mean, since we're talking about things,
why not? Yeah.
You know, it's whatever. But I might edit that out later.
I think keep it. I think and send it to him. Send a copy and say, hey, just put it out there.
I'm just,
you're putting something of yours out there, have a look at mine.
We're working with the
that sounds wrong though.
Whatever. But yeah, whatever, I'm open to all possibilities. Yes. Life be life, and so you never know. But so you were talking a bit about the play that's coming up for you, the comedy. Mm-hmm. When does that start for you?
April 21st, and it goes on till June 20th.
Okay.
And it's I mean, Playhouse is an amazing Lord B theater, so that's a good credit. And because it's equity makes sure that you have housing, you have a car, you have a weekly salary with good working hours, you have health insurance, all of those great things that come with an equity contract. But the even more amazing thing is the director, Joni Schultz. She's worked a lot across the U.S. So I'm very happy to have hopefully a relationship with her. And the casting director for the Playhouse is Antony Cleopatra, who is in New York, is a New York-based casting director.
Oh, nice.
Does the Hudson Valley Shakespeare. She does like amazing amount of work in New York. So hope all of this is the story is I know it. The main part. The story is great. Shonita, all about you, isn't it?
I love it.
All about how I can make this work in the future.
I mean, look though, that's a big part of our job is networking, and like, you and it's not to be crass or go into this with an agenda of any kind, but it's like that's how you get the work. That's how you move on to different things. You have to learn about those aspects of people that you're going to be working with, because you just never know, so I take it as you've done your due diligence and your homework, and that's what we have to do as actors. You got to know.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Thank you.
That's not bad. I think that's wonderful. And, who can say? Like I said, it's only a matter of time before New York knows who Shonita is. So.
And gets me on Life of Pi. Because
like, you didn't take me in the beginning, but you're going to take me on Broadway, bro.
Somebody hasn't gotten over it.
It's like, you're going to want me for the Broadway show. I'm just
standing at the side clapping for my friends and going like, you're amazing.
I love it.
Next. I'll be the most terrible Oscar award nominee when I lose, because I'll be like, I'm gonna have to sit in the corner and practice that crap and be like, don't do that shit on camera.
It's gonna be one of those things. It's like,
yeah. Hopefully by that time, when you're in one of the nominees for Oscar, just like get over yourself. You're living a good life.
I mean, honestly, it is. They make a joke a lot about it in movies, but it is an honor to be nominated because, like, someone thought you had the chance to win.
Yeah.
You know, and like to be nominated means you've already won, because the way that movies are popped out left, right, and center these days, because we have just the ability to do that. I'll take it. I'll take it. Keep nominating me. Go ahead. Whatever. Like, like, oh, you just a nominee. You know, were you ever nominated?
Right.
Didn't think so.
This, you can totally tell me if we're moving away and we can come back to it. But what did you think about the Will Smith thing?
Okay. So okay. I'm going to answer this question in two ways. I'm going to answer you as a Black person, and I'm going to answer you as a professional.
Mm-hmm.
As a Black person, I would have waited till an after party to slap the shit out of him. I wouldn't have done it on stage. I would have been like, cool, I got you later. I'm going to find out which after party you at, and I'm going to beat your ass.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would have done it. I'm just, then I can be like, I was overzealous. It was stewing with me. I had a few too many to drink, and, it was that kind of thing. And I just saw him, and I was like, I'm angry. Oops. So that I'm just saying that's how I would have handled it on these streets. I'm not gonna do it where I work because I don't want, you're not gonna get to see that side of me. We gonna do this over here where people are signing NDAs to get into a party. That's what's gonna happen. As a professional, obviously it was unprofessional to go and do that and to let your emotions get the best of you in that way, in that moment. And especially because it was a big moment for him to win an Oscar for that role. And I hate that it took so much away from that moment, because, this is a guy who grew up in Philly. And I mean, when he got Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it was literally because Quincy Jones was at a party and he had the opportunity to pitch it. And Quincy Jones said, let me see it right now. And he just happened to be ready. That's how that, like, you know what I mean? So like, he'd been making music and stuff and people thought he was like funny and whatever. But like, that opportunity was 1 in a million. That was his fluke, So to come in to that and be able to build the kind of career that he's built, and to let someone else's immaturity, like, make him react in a way that was out of character in the moment, was really sad to me. I don't like Chris Rock for multiple reasons. He's let white comedians say the N-word and think it's funny. He's made fun of Black women's natural hair. He's also picked on Jada way more than this time. Like, this is not the first time he's made jokes about Will Smith and his family. And he does this thing like, like he has some gems, but there's a lot of stuff that he does that's real kind of fluky to me. So I don't really mess with Chris Rock like that. But don't let someone else's crap take you out of the moment, because that was his moment. You know what I'm saying? And like, he still got it. I mean, he got an Oscar, that's great. But I think for him personally, it will always just kind of suck that those two things are on the same level, as yeah, that is definitely, to me, it should have been more of a teachable moment of like, just not letting other people stop your shine, because like, they're gonna be everywhere and you never know when it's gonna happen. You never know what kind of person is gonna come out of the side of their neck to say something stupid to you. You just got to be comfortable with who you are and know your worth, and understand that whatever they said is about them. That's not about you. And if anything, like, Now, if Jada went up there and slapped him in the face, then I'd be like, I mean,
yeah. That was a big part of my criticism, was just she didn't ask for it.
Yeah, like
standing up. I understand standing up, but I also was like, it takes away from Jada in some ways, because which is not his fault or anything. People villainize her.
Yeah, I mean, they, I mean, she's a woman, so they really don't like her anyway half the time. And then she's a Black woman, and they're like,
and she's powerful, and she says what she wants to say, and
she's really the and like, because I don't always agree with things that she says, but the beauty about her is that Black women are not a monolith. And, I don't have to agree with her all the time. I don't have to agree with her decisions all the time. I don't have to agree with her actions all the time. I don't have to. And that's okay. I can still respect her and not agree with everything she does, because nothing that she's doing is belittling me as a human being or, trying to put me down,
Which is so interesting to me, because this is what I was thinking was, one Black person, or sometimes for me, I become a representation of my people.
Yeah.
Will Smith suddenly became the representation of
Black
people. White people don't have that.
No, because
how is that a representation of whiteness, right?
Right.
And we're constantly out there being scrutinized for an entire community and their actions and what they do. So if I do something stupid, or there's a day that I'm smelly, it's like Indians are smelly.
Yeah.
Or, no, there are a billion people, and there may be some stereotypes that are true. I mean, I do like my curry, but but I really do, and it can be smelly. It's true, but there's so much like constant pressure to represent. And with the Will Smith thing, especially, like, not even about his actions. I was interested to hear what you thought about it. I was so impressed with his apology, and a lot of people have said that's something his PR wrote, and it's not really him, and he blah 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 blah. I don't see good examples of men owning up to their shit.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
In politics, in entertainment, in comedy, even Louis C.K. denied his shit till there were more and more women who came up and said, no, he does this shit. And
then he turned around and decided to become a racist out loud. And I'm like,
and I mean, there's a whole, Trump has now created an actual way of being, which is, if they beat you, you go down even harder. If they call out, if you're wrong, you fight it even stronger.
Deny, and make counter accusations.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's a person, whatever he did, whatever happened, whatever got released or whatever, the next day put out a statement and said, this is not who I want to be. I need to work on myself. I'm going to reflect. I'm going to do the job.
Yeah.
To work on who I am. And this is not a moment that I'm proud of. I have not seen that example. And I think as a society, as people, we need to decide on how much to be down on somebody when they own up.
Yeah.
Whatever, like, I have opinions about the whole thing, which don't matter. Irrespective, I don't think it was the craziest thing that has happened for a man who's worked that long.
I mean, and I, like you were saying earlier, how like bad news just travels so quickly, it's so easy to quickly condemn somebody and be like, well, he did that. Well, we don't like him anymore. We're not gonna support him anymore, because how could he do that? And I'm like, okay. But like, you still have the Roman Polanskis out here making films. You still have Woody Allen's out here making films. You still have, how long did it take for Weinstein to actually go down, And there are people to this day who still defend them wholeheartedly with their full chest, be out here, well, and I'm like, he slapped a grown man. It was a grown man who slapped another grown man. if you're not Black, you probably don't know the history behind those two Black men, because this was not necessarily an isolated incident.
Mm-hmm.
But it was two grown men who can handle it however they decide to handle it. They are both in an equal position of power, and it wasn't the right thing to do at the right time. They will figure it out, because guess what? They have the equal standing and footing and power to do that.
The hypocrisy and the for Black people, for people of color, and even women. Just when you see stories about Britney Spears or the Pamela Anderson documentary that came out, and just the stuff that just, it's so different.
Yeah.
The standards that are put for what is good behavior. And I mean, that also is one of the reasons why I was like, the firsts scare me. The he's the safe Black, this one person scares me, because it's this whole idea that we're breaking, I don't know, it's a constant work in action. It's constant reminder that no, this place isn't safe. You have to fight, you have to stand by each other, and call out when that happens.
Yeah. And even if it's something stupid, like there's this thing that bothers me to this day. And it was Jennifer Lawrence was on a talk show, and she's essentially talking about scratching her ass on sacred Hawaiian rocks while she was filming. And you could see Chris Pratt sitting next to her at the time. And like, it was like, we're talking about the story. And then like we get there and he's just like, like you could see his discomfort. And it's just like, even stuff like that, because, you know, Hawaii right now is going through like all kinds of strife and telling tourists not to come because they're being pushed off their land. They're being starved out. They're not getting drinkable water because of the Navy down there, all these things. And we're on national television. There's this white woman making a joke about scratching her ass on sacred land. And I'm like, what? Like, do we not see the problem with that? Like how we are very dismissive about stuff like that. And it's just, yeah. So it's like, it's all this kind of playing the game of Hollywood. But I personally think, like, if you are very clear about where you stand, and you can be humble enough to know when you fucked up or when you were wrong or something happened, and you're leading with kindness, you will find your people and you will find your audience, and they will be there.
Mm-hmm. I hope so, and I believe so. Yeah, that's really well said. Sometimes I feel like, even with the JLo thing, like we all see so much shit, right? But if your workplace, you do something stupid or you don't meet your targets or something, the boss pulls you into the office and says, hey, this is a problem with you. We're going to put you on probation, or this is a thing and you need to work your way back. How many people know about that? Your boss and you and maybe somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
This is a career where everything is in the world is your boss.
Yeah.
And every time you make a mistake, the whole world sits in on a probation plan for you, and there's no hiding from it.
Nope.
And sometimes people do live in a bubble in that sense. It's like, when you think about it, it's like, do you know what's going on in the world? Why would you make a joke like that? Like, oh. And at the same time, it's like, can you apologize? Can you own up? Can you therefore do something about action? Help with the corporates taking over Hawaii and throwing people out of their lands and not paying them? All of that. Can you do something about that? Highlight it? And
no, she went away. She had a baby and got married. That's what she did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Wealth can buy you a bubble, though, right?
Well, yes, because Tom Cruise exists.
That's a good way of putting it.
that man is the most protected man in the world. Not Hollywood, the world. That man has no sense of what actual reality is.
No.
And it's almost enviable how he's just like, I get to focus on just making action films and running everywhere and holding my breath underwater for 7 minutes. That's my life.
I cannot imagine the crew and all those people who had to do paperwork for him while he's hanging out from the helicopter, because I can do it. But the amount, that production crew must just be, yeah. They need to do a mental health check and just like,
He's gonna live. He's gonna live. He's gonna live. He's
it's
gonna live.
a toxic industry. And what happens to production crews and staff members, it's nuts.
Oh my gosh.
Working hours crazy, benefits are terrible, the abuse is really high, and then you have someone like Tom Cruise who's wild as just loose cannon, and your work term is like, oh my god.
He's like, I'm here, I'm ready to do my own stunts. And you're like,
Sir, please, I have a child. I need to go home. Yeah.
So yeah, there's PAs, and then there's Tom Cruise. It's like,
it's a chain of abuse, just like at every level, and all thanks to the captain, always the captain.
Thanks, Tom Cruise.
I was like, welcome to your bubble, and you're like, yeah, Tom Cruise exists. I love that.
It's all Tom Cruise's fault. Damn it, Tom Cruise. I have nothing against Tom Cruise.
But too late for that.
Nope. Nothing to say here. This is all just jokes. Just jokes.
Just catching up.
Yeah. Yes, we're catching up. And don't sue me because I don't have any sponsors yet. So
please watch Mission Impossible 7, 9, 10.
I don't know. Jesus. Go watch Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick. There we go. Sorry.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh.
That was the one. Oh.
Go watch it. It's so great.
We hired one woman this time to show. Yeah, she can fly planes.
And she can play a sport and flex.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so 80s and 90s action films are the best, worst films ever. I love them. To like, I will defend them until I die. They are absolutely terrible, but I love them to death. But I will never get over in that movie when they're arguing back and forth. Him and Val Kilmer, are arguing, and then the end of the argument is just that's the end of the argument. And I'm like, what? Was that an insult? Are you flirting with me? I don't know.
And thank God, right? That we don't know, because it's like that didn't pass on. That's not a gesture we can now relate to and say, okay, that's acceptable.
You know what? I'm done with this.
At the top of on Actors Access and all these websites where you have to submit your auditions, you get a slate, a 30-second slate.
Yeah.
Just for casting directors to see what you're like or how you sound and all that. And I'm just going to go, my name is Shonita Joshi. I think, Amber, you're opening up a world full of a lot of work for me.
We're gonna have this catch on,
Yeah.
Like, hi, my name is Amber Patton.
I had never seen Top Gun. I was going to see part 2, so I saw the first one, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And I think this is a classic, and this is very problematic.
I feel like we use the term classic in America very loosely. Is what I will say. Not everything needs to be a classic. Just because it's old doesn't make it a classic.
Yeah. But you know, there's a whole party, there's an entire wing of the government that exists because change is not good.
No, we don't.
On a simple principle that change is not good.
We don't like change.
No.
I'm sorry.
We need to go back to the good old times, the golden days, and the question is, what is a good time? Oh, is there a year that you're talking about? Is it no? When I existed and I like things, and it's like, huh, okay.
Essentially, yeah. When I didn't have to censor myself, and I could say whatever I wanted about women and Black people and foreigners, and
people were not so sensitive. They were crybabies.
Although one thing I do envy about people before, I would say 1985, is that they didn't have to worry about credit scores. I'm really jealous.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the wrong year. Do not quote me on that. But credit scores was not always a thing. And for all those people that were just out here in abundance and just like, yeah, charge it, baby. I don't care. Whatever.
Bankruptcy. Moving on.
I envy that energy because, like, that is something that we as millennials will never experience. Crippling debt is our legacy, and that is what we'll die with.
Yeah. And punishment for it at every level.
You know? Oh, I'm sorry. You want to buy a house? Did you pay off your student loans? What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
I don't understand. You told me to go to school. You said it was a good idea. Why?
I mean, even supposedly India is a developing nation and third world country or whatever, education's free. So I do not understand.
I think I look at the US, people are going to hate me. I look at the US as like, I feel like it is in a lot of ways its own third world country, except we charged a lot of things to make it nice and pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very good example of how I think any system in pure isolation doesn't work. I don't think just capitalism works or just socialism works. I think it's a mixture of things, and there has to be rules and playing like leveling, because price economy, everything is supply and demand. It's all no, it doesn't work, because then there's monopoly and people cheat, all kinds of things. And the thing we have right now, so anything, there's a lot of issues in healthcare, education, a lot of things.
That's an entirely different podcast. That's a whole nother.
But the one thing I'd say I'm so impressed in the US, which I haven't seen at least back home, is people even at ground level get involved and fight. I haven't seen that level of activism and fight for a change and push back that I see in America. The involvement in politics, the involvement in social communities, it's very impressive.
Yeah. I really, I have to give it to, I believe, what is it? The Gen Zers are the generation under us, because those guys I'm like, more power to you. What you need, let me be there to whatever you need. I got your back. Y'all are out here. You're being vocal. You're being loud. You're on every social media. You're just people want to like get mad at Gen Z, and I'm in the talk, call them sensitive, and I'm like, no, they're being incredibly vocal about things that needed to be talked about for eons. So these kids know exactly what they're doing. They're being loud. They're speaking out for people. They're I for change, and it's a beautiful thing, and I love it. I love it
too. I'm so happy you said that. I mean, and that's a big part that is hopeful about it. It's them. And you know what, boomers and everybody before them, if you want to take credit, just stop. I mean, these are your kids.
Yeah.
They're doing well. they're doing what we all needed to do.
I mean, granted, they be stealing our music and stuff and trying to talk about that it's original, but whatever.
There is other stuff that I have.
but you know what? Yeah.
But it's so great you said that. I agree 100%.
Well, speaking of that, because like here at Catching Up with You, we obviously want to catch up with you and we care about people and things like that. So are there any organizations or people or anything that you would like to highlight or talk about and let people know about?
Yes. I'm so happy to. 3 things, and I'll be quick. The first one is I want to give a shout out to Katie Porter. She is a representative from California who's running for the Senate in the upcoming elections. There is just a lot of money being put against her in other candidates, and I just want to say, keep an eye on that race. She's incredible in holding corporations and people accountable with her presentations, her data, everything. So she's running for Senate in California. Keep an eye out on that. The second is an organization called Justice Democrats. Justice Democrats is an organization that helps put good candidates during the primaries. So we all pay attention, a lot of the times, not we all, a lot of the times we pay attention to the elections, and that actually is a bit too late, because what is really important is the primaries. We pay attention to elections between Democrats and Republicans at the state level, at the federal level, but the primaries are the ones that decide which candidate runs for these elections. So if we're choosing between, every conversation is about choosing the better of the two evils, that's not the standard we want to have our politicians to. Primaries is where you're voting to have somebody represent the Democratic Party, somebody represent the Republican Party. Justice Democrats helps put amazing candidates during the primaries. They're the ones who got the squad elected: AOC, Ilhan Omar, Jamal Bowman, and they do not take any money from corporations. So
which is great.
Which changes the game.
Yeah, as it should actually be, but again, another podcast.
I will be there for that one. So I want to shout out to Justice Democrats, and I was going to send you a link of just several amazing progressive leftist podcasts on YouTube. Just amazing people who do not get airtime or space on our media, which is saturated with corporates owning it, but they tell you what's happening on the ground level. They're very progressive, amazing fans of Bernie Sanders, who we love, and I will share that. But
yeah, I mean, send it along. It'll be every link that you send, it'll be in the YouTube comments below, so everybody gets an opportunity to check it out and diversify their listening, whatever they're listening to. So everything, as I said, will be below after you hit, of course, the subscribe button and everything. But yeah.
Okay. Hey, subscribe.
Do it now.
Okay. I'll give you a shout out during my Oscar speech.
There you go. It all started when we were talking on Amber's podcast.
This episode of Catching Up with You.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll just be in the audience.
That's it. Maybe you're the one planned it to slap me or something, and they're like,
yeah. We did it again. They're both immediately banned. They will never be in here.
Yeah. They are terrible representations of their communities. I was scared of Indians and Black people getting anywhere close to our mic.
You've ruined it for everyone. You're terrible. You one person. Yes. You one individual person.
Yes. We can't trust our doctors anymore.
It's like, never again. Yeah. Good times. Well, thank you so much again for agreeing to be on my podcast. Again, if you're in Cincinnati, go check her out in her upcoming show, which will be running when this airs because it's going through June. What name of the show again? One more time.
Just called Origin Story.
Boom. There you go. So if you're in the surrounding areas, you need to go because you need to support. You need to support.
Yeah, and I'll show up for you then.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
Because you'll be there. And you'll see me there doing the stuff and things. And I gotcha. So thank you again. And as always, it was a pleasure catching up with you.
Thank you, Amber. I enjoyed this conversation and seeing you again and talking to you about a billion things.
I know. We're all over the place. I love it, though. That's the point of the show. It's like there's an idea, and then we just roll with it.
It's amazing. I can't wait to see all the other episodes. I want to see who all.
Me either, because I have no idea. I'm just kidding. No. I kind of know.
You have a plan. You know what you're doing. I'm pretty certain of that. You're amazing.
I'm glad one of us knows.
I'll put my money on you, which is negligible.
It's like, I'll put my money down. What you got? $1.16.
That was my weekly allowance.
What you got? $1.16. I'm ready. I got you.
Let's do this again. I mean, not even.
And that's all she wrote, folks. That is the end of the episode. Again, thank you so much for catching up with us. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And before you go, make sure to go to Pound Town on that like and subscribe button. And again, if you're feeling a little, full of some feverish feelings, if you are feeling some feverish feelings, go ahead and give that ring notification bell a little tickle, and I'll see you next episode, all right? Bye.